Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in to another episode in the 143. This is Under Review. Coming at you live with episode 141. Nick, how are we doing today?
Painful week. Painful and gruesome week to be a Cowboys fan. Just getting demolished in our home stadium once again. Just zero faith in the fellas, unfortunately.
We got some things to say about that game. Do we ever? Hopefully we'll have time to get to other games once we're done talking about that game. But it's the focus of our week. Crazy week in the NFL, though. And we're going to talk about it. So stat of the week brought to you by our sponsor, Andrews Logistics. The stat is Monday Night Football, Bengals Commanders, first game in a long time, possibly in NFL history, at least since when they started keeping these kind of stats. First game without a punt or a turnover. The kind of football we all love to watch, right? Nobody likes punts. Nobody likes turnovers unless you need one. But this was just a clean offensive game all around.
Did not catch that until just now. Hadn't really thought about that, but makes sense.
That stat?
Yeah. Good to see.
Pretty crazy.
I don't mind seeing the high scoring game that made it a lot of fun.
It's what everybody loves to see. Everybody loves to see high powering offense.
Anyways, your player of the week, nicknamed the Red Rifle.
Yeah, baby.
Bringing the Panthers back from so grim of a start. Andy Dalton threw for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 picks in his NFL debut this season. This season's NFL debut for him.
Love to see Andy Dalton showing out.
It's just so funny that,
love it.
You know, we can go ahead and just talk about that game real quick because that's the only thing to mention from Raiders-Panthers is that Andy Dalton gets the nod early on in the week. They decide to bench Bryce Young. I don't know what the whole plan is there. I don't know what they're going to do with this kid.
Bryce Young's not good, in my opinion. He's just not.
I don't know if it's just, who knows?
No, it's him.
Obviously, the Panthers is going to make everyone look bad, is what was said, but Andy Dalton looked like prime Tom Brady. He threw for 320 yards and 3 touchdowns.
It was the Panthers' fault until this week, and now it's looking like it might be a lot of on Bryce Young just not being an NFL quarterback as much as he was a collegiate quarterback.
36 points.
That's high power in offense.
And it's not like they played some tough opponents week 1 and 2. I mean, they played the Chargers and got hammered, and the Chargers' defense is not all that great. They did play the Saints week 1, who, we thought they were going to be nasty, but of course, whenever we needed their offense to put up more than 20 points, they get held to 12, which was lovely to see. But Panthers play the Bengals this next week, and so we'll see what Andy Dalton we get. Could this be a regular thing where he revamps Carolina? Who knows?
I've always loved Andy Dalton. One time, a long time ago, I walked into Sports Clips and showed him a picture of Andy Dalton. And I was like, please cut my hair like that. Obviously, it didn't work out. I didn't ever look like Andy Dalton. My haircut didn't. But, I've always respected the guy. He's always got great hair, great beard game going on right now, too. And he's just lighting it up. Right back to where he was in Cincy. Speaking of, we don't normally preview next week. Next week's game. Carolina Panthers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. He gets some revenge on his old team for letting him go. I think it could be an electric. Could the Bengals fall to 0-4? Nobody knows, but if anybody's going to make it happen, it's going to be the Red Rifle. So that'll be an exciting game to watch. But Andy Dalton lit the Raiders up this week. Not much to say there other than maybe he's back. Let's talk about the big one, the Cowboys game, Cowboys-Ravens. The score is 28-25, but realistically, it was 28-6, and then the Cowboys started trying to come back, and as usual, Dak led the fourth quarter, too little, too late drives. The only good part of that entire game was Brandon Aubrey with a successful onside kick. That was great to see. Obviously, our one shining star is Brandon Aubrey on our team right now. The rest of us can't get it together, but we've got a lot to say about this game, so I'll let Nick take it from here.
Yeah, obviously the score does not dictate what actually happened because the offense did not decide to play until 7 minutes
Mm-hmm.
into the fourth quarter or whatever
Yep.
it was,
Yep.
because it was 28-12 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then we went back to back to back touchdowns, and then the final score ended up being 28-25. And so you could think about a lot of things like, oh, if we had just done this, if we had just done this. Well, it's like if we had just came out and, looked like we were at least somewhat ready to play, then we would have won. Obviously, you think
Yeah.
about that fumble in the red zone early on that CD had. It's like, well, if we had at least just kicked the field goal there, we got points. But your offense can't come in and start showing out 7 minutes into the fourth quarter. Like, you need to be locked in for the entire game. Defense did an okay job. I mean, it looked like they were getting walked on for the first 2 quarters of the game, or for the first half of the game. But it just wasn't enough from the offense, and they were getting pummeled defensively. So it was just, I just wish we could be so much better than we are.
Honestly, my biggest takeaway from this game, and I thought maybe after last week with the Saints just running it absolutely down our throats, that our biggest takeaway from last week would be to come in this week. A team in Baltimore who always runs the ball. I've always said Lamar Jackson is a running back first and a quarterback second. We know they want to run. That's all they do. That's all the Ravens do. And they came in this week, and after last week getting thrashed by the run game, we came into this week and we said, let's try the exact same thing. And of course, the exact same thing happened. Okay? Derrick Henry comes in, runs all over us. He hasn't been great this season, the last 2 games. And of course, we made him look like prime Derrick Henry's back. And I got something to say, okay? Nobody came ready to play except for Brandon Aubrey. Always props to Brandon. He's always ready to play. Nobody came ready to play except for him. All right? And that's on the coaching. That's on the players. But it goes to the top. And I'm so tired of saying this. We got Jerry Jones out here every week running his mouth about how I'm the best GM in the game. Nobody could do it like I do it. Buddy, when you were winning Super Bowls, that I can confidently say was Jimmy Johnson's fault. Okay? All 3 of those Super Bowls, that was Jimmy's team. And I'm not about to give Jerry any more credit. He thinks those 3 Super Bowl rings 30 years ago are going to help him now. And he comes out here every week and he talks to the media, which is just ridiculous from an owner's standpoint. And he's the GM, so he wants full credit for everything. And he's going to get full credit this week from us here at Under Review. You could have had Derrick Henry in the offseason, and instead you compiled Rico Dowdell, Zeke Elliott, and Deuce Vaughn like that was going to be our rushing attack. And it has looked absolutely awful. So, yeah.
The other thing that was frustrating is it seemed like Derrick Henry was ready because, I mean, ready to be in Dallas. I mean,
yeah,
is what I was
he
talking
mentioned
about.
he wanted to come to Dallas,
and he bought a house in Dallas. He bought a car in Dallas.
He went on a podcast and said, "I'd like to go to Dallas."
Made it very clear, that he wanted to be here in Dallas, and we let him come to town and run for 151 yards on us.
He did come to Dallas, but it was for this game.
Obviously, thank you, defense, for not giving up 50 this week. I guess that's one of the good takeaways.
It's just been the same. It's been the same thing every week. It's the same thing every season. Nothing's changing. And we've said this time and time again, but what's the one common denominator for the last 25, 26, 27 years? It's Jerry. So I think it's about time to hire an actual GM and move out of the way and sit down because we're all tired of seeing it. We're all tired of hearing about it. And don't come out here talking like you're the best GM in the league. The best GM in the league is the one winning Super Bowls right now in Kansas City. So,
also, maybe questioning the Mike Zimmer hire just a little bit. Obviously, it got a lot of people excited because, he was here when the Cowboys were winning Super Bowls. But once again, that was 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. So I get that that's what he was doing then. But it's like he just looks almost clueless when he's out there. Like, they kept panning to him on the sidelines, and it seemed like every time he was looking down, he was just looking up and looking around like he had no idea what was going on. So maybe questioning that one a little bit. We'll see how he does. Cowboys have a quick turnaround week. They're playing this Thursday night against the New York Giants.
Yeah. You probably get beat by the San Francisco Giants right now too.
But this is a good kind of, the Cowboys always, in recent years, have played well against the Giants. Dak kind of owns the Giants. We've always kind of beat up on the Giants no matter what, and they're looking pretty bad this year. So hopefully that can be a nice tune-up game to get everyone, back on the right track.
We'll see.
In the groove.
We'll see. I have zero faith in this team right now.
Obviously, we're thinking maybe. I mean, we always lose first round of the playoffs, but I mean, are we thinking maybe even miss out?
At this
Is
point,
that even a possibility?
At this point, if you're just going to go to the playoffs to lose in the first round, don't even make it, because I'm tired of watching it.
At least this is week 3, so it's we kind of know what to expect for the remaining weeks. It's not it's week 16 and it's ruining our season,
Yeah, next game. Just briefly, got to mention the Vikings-Texans. Vikings dominated the Texans, and Sam Darnold looks amazing, 4 touchdowns. He's leading the NFL in touchdown passes right now. The revival of Sam Darnold is something that needs to be studied. Kevin O'Connell deserves a lot of credit for that as well. But the Vikings defense looks nasty too. I think they could be legit contenders in the NFC North this year, the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I don't think this was a team that had a lot of faith in them, just because with Sam Darnold, you didn't really know what the expectations should be, because it was, yes, he was a good quarterback in college, but his talents weren't properly displayed, just because he had been the starter in New York for a little bit, starter in Carolina for a little bit, and then he sat as a backup in San Francisco, and so you weren't really sure about what kind of quarterback he was going to be, but everyone had always said if you give him a decent shot that he could be a good quarterback, and we're seeing that on full display here in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson and him seem to have a very good bond. I know there might have been some issues between Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins in their time there, but they seem to be getting along just fine.
Yep.
Stephon Diggs had another great week as a Houston Texan, but not enough to get the job done, as they got mopped in Minnesota. So we'll just move on from that game. Sam Darnold as the Viking.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles won again, unfortunately. They were playing the Saints, who were scoring 40-plus points a week, and then conveniently decided to not.
Yeah. That game could just be wrapped up on that. It was almost a minute left. The Saints had the Eagles, they were up by 5, had the Eagles backed up on 3rd and 16, I think, and on their own territory, and they just gave up a crossing route to Dallas Goedert, who took it 80 yards, and they were able to push it in with Saquon to win the game. Saints defense just folded. Saints offense was nowhere to be found that game either. As usual, everybody folds against the Eagles. That's just how we've always seen it happen. And, of course, it had to be the week that we got mopped by the Ravens. So it's been a tough weekend as a Cowboys fan. And I don't think there's a whole lot we can say.
Just always getting obliterated via media.
There's not a whole lot we can say. I mean, the Eagles played absolutely terrible, and so did the Saints. It was just who was going to play not the worst. And I guess that ended up being the Eagles. Briefly mentioned the Bears-Colts game just because Caleb Williams is now 0-3 as a starter. So welcome to the league, Caleb. Some y'all were all saying he was going to be Hall of Famer after his first year. And I'm not seeing it, Nick. Are you seeing it?
No, but they are 1-2.
They're 1-2. My bad.
As they won.
Oh, that's right. They won the first game.
Yeah, he did finally throw his. He did finally throw. He threw 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 363 yards. So
yeah,
a little bit of a better passing
I was counting 0-3 because that first game they didn't score any offensive touchdowns.
It didn't feel like they won that game.
Yeah. They're playing the Titans, so.
Anthony Richardson, he's kind of, yes, they won that game, but it was looking like in spite of him because he threw 2 interceptions, but he also didn't play super great last week. So, we kind of got some things to consider if you're AR.
Yeah, you got Joe Flacco on the bench. I don't know. At some point you might as well just toss him in there and see what happens.
Hey, we stood up for this guy over here on Under Review, so
he's making us look bad.
I need you to lock in, brother.
He is definitely making us look bad. Niners Rams. That was kind of a nail biter. This one you can deem as the who was playing for these teams type of game because it seemed like all the star players were injured. Star player for the Niners this week was Juwan Jennings with 3 touchdowns. The Niners just had that next man up, and he came out, showed up. Obviously, he showed out in the Super Bowl last year, so it wasn't shocking that he came in and filled the role that he needed to fill. But the Rams got the win in the end, and they had Cooper Kupp was out, Puka was out. They had a couple defensive guys out. A lot of guys missing, but they still came out and got the win. So congrats to the Rams.
Another big week for Jordan Mason, 19 carries, 77 yards. Obviously didn't get the win, but he's still putting out solid numbers, being put in the running back 1 position for the 49ers as they await Christian McCaffrey's return, which is slowly and surely getting pushed back week by week. But another good performance from him. Obviously a little coming out party for Juwan Jennings as he scored. He almost went for 200 yards, which is pretty impressive. But they were playing Matt Stafford in the Rams, who had nobody offensively. But let's move on to some Chiefs-Falcons Sunday Night Football. It was a doozy.
It was. It didn't seem like either team was playing very well in that game. Maybe the defenses were just pretty solid, but summary of this game basically just came down to the end with the Falcons driving down the field at the end of the game, and there was definitely a missed PI call in the end zone on the Chiefs that would have put the Falcons on the 1 because it was in the end zone. Would have definitely, I don't know. I guess I don't know if they would have won, but it definitely would have put them in the lead and given them a solid chance to come out of this game with a win. The refs did not call it. That's causing a lot more of the refs helping the Chiefs narrative that everybody likes to bring up all the time. But the Falcons did have a shot on 4th and inches in the red zone, and they called just the worst play call of all time, like a outside run that kept Bijan like 5 yards behind the line for a couple seconds. And I don't know, Nick, I don't know what you thought about that play call, but I just feel like you got to just take it up the gut or call a passing play. But an outside run is definitely not the answer.
Obviously, yes, run it, but when you have a guy like Bijan, you just bowl it up the middle.
Yeah,
like he's a big, strong dude. You just hand it to him and let him bull rush at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's either that or like do like a bootleg roll out with Kurt, but he's not very fast. I guess that wouldn't have worked. But like anything other than the play they called, because that play collapsed. Chiefs won the game.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see a little bit better of an offensive game just because the Falcons go on a quick 4-minute drive and drive down and score with Drake London.
Yeah.
Who he had another decent game.
Yeah, Captain could be a rising star.
Kyle Pitts had a little bit of a better week as a Falcon. There was that one like 50-yard bomb that he caught or whatever. But the Chiefs did just enough to win the game. They had a slow start and finally got locked in there in the second quarter with the scoring, and then their defense stepped it up a notch in the second half and really hit the clamps on the Falcons. No Isaiah Pacheco as he broke his femur.
I think it was
one of the leg bones. One of the
broke
things
his leg.
that makes you run. And so Carson Steele,
Yep.
who missed out on his sister's wedding. Sister's wedding.
What a great sister planning her wedding on a NFL Sunday
Yeah.
that her brother's going to be playing in.
He got I think he got 2 yards away from a touchdown at one point, but he still ran for 72 yards. Which was
Yeah, he had a good outing. This is the third week though that the Chiefs' win has come down to the end. They have not looked great, but they are 3-0. But they don't really look like they're 3-0 because of the way they've been playing. But hey, they're doing enough to get it done, and I wouldn't say they definitely can't sustain it. But we also know that the Chiefs like to start slow and get it moving when it comes to postseason time. So they are 3-0 right now.
Just 2 more things about that offense. Another big week for Rashee Rice, who solidifies himself as their number one. And we're still seeing a slow start from Travis Kelce. Haven't had that big week yet.
Yeah, I think it's the haircut.
It might be. It might be. He just he went into the barbershop and give me that ruin my life special or whatever.
And it has.
That was. Yeah.
And he is ruining fantasy managers' lives as we speak. So,
absolutely.
Rashee Rice looks amazing, though. Rashee Rice looks great.
In the 4th round? Yes, please.
Yep.
That was me in one of my leagues.
I have heard a lot about Travis Kelce in fantasy, and none of it's been good, in case y'all are wondering. So, Trav needs to hurry up and get open, it sounds like.
Jags Bills. Trevor Lawrence still stinks, and me and Joseph have been saying that for a while now.
Yeah, I know.
People are finally starting to hop on that train of saying Trevor Lawrence might actually be bad, when we've been saying that for almost
years.
A year. Almost a year.
Honestly, I think we've been saying it for a couple of years, and I think at the beginning of this season, their stadium name is Everbank Stadium. At the beginning of the season, I think they put a TR up there and named it Trevor Banks Stadium for opening week, and they paid him $255 million, making $55 million a year.
People were ready to say that the Jags were going to win the AFC.
Yeah.
Like
shout out Colin Cowherd. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And they start out 0-3 and got absolutely murdered by the Bills.
And the Bills are looking good. They're firing on all cylinders. Josh Allen looks amazing right now. As somebody that is trying to overcome the narrative of not being clutch and stuff like that, he's putting on a clinic right now. Obviously, you got to prove it in the postseason, but 9 touchdowns, no interceptions this season. No turnovers, actually, believe it or not. So Bills look good right now. Defense, offense, everything's clicking, and I don't know if this game was more of a Bills being dominant or a Jags being absolutely terrible, but it went both ways, and the Bills came out 47-10 and just shut the Jags down. First quarter, everyone knew it was over. So, shocker. And then the game that we mentioned at the start of the week, Commanders, Bengals, high-powering offense, no punts, no turnovers. Safe to say defense has played awful, and the offenses looked great. Jaden Daniels, everyone's kind of overreacting, as they normally do now. But they're saying that he's looking like the steal of the draft, and maybe he is. I don't know. But I think it's a little too early to tell.
Joe Burrow being put on the stand as the Cincinnati Bengals fall 0-3, unfortunately. Another big week a bigger week for Jamar Chase. 2 touchdowns caught, 118 yards. So we're finally seeing that dynamic get back into it. But they got to start winning some games if they want to put some faith back in the Bengals hype train. Terry McLaurin coming out party as he finally catches a touchdown this season.
Yeah, he looked great.
Obviously, the Commanders' run attack looks absolutely disgusting because they've had Brian Robinson, they had Austin Eckler this week, and then Jaden Daniels, who's been the mobile quarterback. I don't know if the Commanders are actually good or if it's just the first 3 weeks and who they're playing. I guess we'll see. I mean, they might even sweep the Cowboys.
Maybe. They gave us a great Monday night game, though, and Bengals are 0-3. Something to look out for next week as they play the Panthers. 0-4 would be very hard to come back from. 0-3 is a little difficult. 0-4 is near impossible. So we will see with them, but good week in the NFL. Not a great week for Cowboys fans. But hopefully we will go in Thursday night to MetLife and get ourselves a win.
Dak always does good at MetLife. That is the one thing I can say. And hopefully the defense locks in at MetLife.
Amen.
As they play Daniel Jones, who's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
Very true.
So here's what I'd like to end our shows on under review. I brought you a quote from the Bo Jackson. He said, "Set your goals high and don't stop till you get there." And that's the truth, baby.
That is the truth. Bo is the best two-way player of all time. Two-way being baseball and football.
Behind Deion Sanders, obviously.
You think Deion's better than Bo? Playing both?
Dude, absolutely. You're talking about a Super Bowl champion.
All right, you know what? We will table this discussion. We'll save it for another time. But we thank you for tuning in this week. We will see you next week with another episode of Under Review.